Bilge tank. We'll keep you in the know in the big Bilge tank. We'll fix your techie woes and we'll break things and we'll make things till we're all together raking and we'll raise a cup of grog down in the big Bilge tank. In the big Bilge tank. Come and join our pirate crew in the big Bilge tank.
We will show you what to do.
And we'll hack it till we crack it and we'll tell the world about it and forget to tidy up. That's why it's now a Bilge tank.
Hello and welcome to episode 124 of the Bilge Tank, live from Sheffield-on-Sea.
Hello.
I'm with Tanya and Sandy today, and we're going to take a look at some of the Circuit Classics kits that we just got in stock and a couple of new products.
Mm-hmm.
So that's roll.
Yep.
For some reason our stream URL is wrong, so we've just pasted the right one into the chat.
So yeah, if you can see us, that's great. Give us a wave on the chat, and then we'll know you're definitely there. So yeah, some live soldering today as promised, which is very, very exciting. Is there anything we want to do before that?
I guess we should kind of introduce what these kits are. So
Excellent.
These are the Circuit Classics kits. There are 3 different ones. They're all based upon Forrest Mim's classic circuits. So he did a range of kind of electronics textbooks that were sold in Radio Shack, I believe.
And he hand drew them all, which was the really cool thing. So they're all hand drawn, and the graphics on these, as you'll see, kind of matches what's hand drawn. There's a lot of nice little touches to it. Schematics, yes.
Yeah, he had a very distinct style that I think people remember fondly from back in the day of kind of analog electronics and general electronic shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
So the 3 circuits that are part of this range are the step tone generator, which is also known as an Atari Punk Synth.
Yeah, that's basically the same circuit, but it kind of ended up getting that name of APC or Atari Punk Synth.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There is a dual LED flasher that basically just blinks 2 LEDs on and off. And there is the bar graph voltage indicator.
I can't do a bar graph.
So that's just a voltmeter basically.
Effectively, I think it basically uses a resistor ladder that then triggers the inputs on a...
Yeah, and introduces you to building your own tools, which is quite fun.
Paul's here.
Paul is here, something has gone wrong.
He's crawling under the camera.
Here he is! Can you
Paul.
see the Paul? You can't see anything. Nothing is happening here.
I think he's playing with the microphone.
He might be playing with a microphone.
Okay.
Does that mean we have to shout at it?
Could nobody hear us?
I don't know. We can't see the chat, so actually we ought to put the chat up, then we can see if people are complaining about stuff.
People seem to be waving.
No, people are waving. We're good.
Right, so I think we should start by doing kind of an unboxing of the kit.
Yeah.
Can we go to
we were going to specifically look at the step tone generator because it's kind of it's probably the most fun.
Because it's cool and it's noisy, and we like noisy things.
Ooh.
So, as you can see, we prepared well beforehand and got all the cameras set up, all the microphones set up.
Do you want to know what, Tanya? I actually came in here and I
know you did. I know you've been here like forever.
This close-up camera was actually turned on because last week it was completely off when we started.
So here's what you get. So you get, you may or may not get one of these cards because they came separately as part of the delivery that we got. So they're kind of like an added extra, but I think we're going to start putting them in with orders that have got one of these kits in. So you get this little card that kind of gives you hints about how to solder from the kind of classic Forrest Mim's book, the Getting Started in Electronics one. And then a little...
Page 98 for those who are playing at home.
Yep.
Nice little postcard of the assembled board, so I guess you know what you're making.
Yep.
Then a nice little cartoon about
a little bit of the background behind what all the bits do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should say that this project was actually originally a crowd supply put together by Star Simpson, who's an engineer herself, and I believe she worked with Forrest to kind of put this range of 3 of his classic circuits together. Mm-hmm. And they are very, very cool. Like the illustration style is just awesome.
So that's the front of it.
Yep. Ooh, look at that.
And the back. It's very cool, isn't it? It's got extra large, what they're called, the blobby bits where you solder to.
The vias.
It's
Or
got,
the through holes, if you like, plated
Through
through
holes.
hole. Yeah.
but basically, you can't miss them because they're bigger than usual.
Do you know the actual bit you're talking about? I think is what's known as the annular ring,
The
which
annular
is
ring.
effectively the flat surface around the hole of the plated through hole.
There you go, technical terms.
Technical
The bit that
terms.
you solder to is bigger, so you can't miss it.
I think this is the nicest bit about these, is you get this lovely block of wood.
Pet brick.
Yeah, but when you finish it, the whole thing sits in it, and you can stick it on your desk or your shelf.
Could you
And
use
it's
it to
like a-
solder it in as well?
Not really.
No, probably
You'd be
not.
better off using a pan of ice, which we stuck in our tools section.
Oh yes, I forgot that.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't be rigid or fixed enough
Can
to
I just-
solder it well. But
Oh, I need to get the light on this right. There you
Oh,
go.
that's
See that?
nice.
They've done that to mimic the notebook lines. How cool is
oh
that?
yeah, I was actually looking at the.
So it's actually like it was in the notebook. I think it's just an extra layer of copper or something underneath.
Yeah, there's strips of copper with very
Yeah.
fine gap between for the kind of faint wool effect. But I was actually
I just
looking,
think that's a really cool touch.
looking at the other side where you can see the resistor's been removed, certain parts of the circuit, so you can kind of see the circuit through from the other
Yeah.
side, which is pretty cool as well.
Sorry, Sandy.
That's nice.
Well,
Sorry.
Sandy prepares all the bits there.
Oh,
Sorry. Did I
No,
knock
you
you
didn't.
there?
Are you guys fighting for camera time?
No, I'm just looking at these gold bits on the corner, which aren't part of the soldering session, soldering set thing. And now I've just got a disembodied head. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anytime. Are these test points?
I think that's a coin
So
cell
that's just a
holder.
coin cell, but are these test points?
I think they're just so you can inject power
Yep.
from somewhere else.
Oh,
So you
okay.
could use crock clips and a battery pack or
bench power supply.
bench power supply if you've got
one?
one kicking around. What are we looking at?
That one.
Where?
Oh, you can't see it because it's gone. That one there.
Oh, let's have a look.
Pass it across. I always wonder about all the extra bits, whether they're for decoration or they're to be useful.
I think they might just be almost like little, almost like test points, maybe places you can take interesting measurements from. But I don't know the answer. I don't know.
We'll have to ask.
We'll try it.
We'll send a message.
Right, let's get started soldering this. Right,
Okay.
so
I hopefully haven't put any greasy fingerprints on it.
do you want to talk through what the 555 timer is, you guys, while I'm doing
Yeah.
this? That would
I'm
probably
just
be
a
nice.
disembodied head in the middle of your soldering, so I'll just hold on to it like this, and then we'll go from there. It actually works quite well. So yes, the 555 timer was the original one in the circuit in Forest Notebook, but then if you combine two 555s, you get a 556, not
Yeah. A
a
556
1110.
is effectively a dual package of 555 timers, and this
Yeah.
circuit uses two 555 timers, so it's slightly more efficient to use a single 556.
So
Which is cool.
that's the one Sandy's just thrown. Shall I tilt this back a little bit because it's mostly focused up here, Sandy?
Yeah. Well, no, Sandy can move.
Yeah, it should be okay.
It's
Sandy
easier
can
to
move.
move Sandy than the camera.
I just have visions of
We'll
him
go over to
soldering at
the-
arm's length like some soldering zombie.
And obviously the 555 timer is a very well-known piece in any kind of electronics hobbyist toolkit. It's one of those classic chips that lets you do all sorts of interesting things. It's probably one of the most famous chips ever made, to be honest, if not the most famous, I would say.
So
You
a
should have a look at
555
the,
timer, if you don't have one, like if you don't have any knowledge of one, how would you describe it in one sentence?
It's usually used for timing tasks, so things where you want to create some sort of repeated pulse or signal that you then use to drive something else. So
Okay.
almost like create a tunable oscillator.
So
or
it's
something like
basically something that just sends pulses. Like
that.
that.
Kind of, with the right circuit built around it. So
Okay.
actually the chip itself doesn't time. It's
Okay.
the external
It's the
circuit
way that
that
you
sets the
connect it.
parameters that determine how its kind of outputs behave. But
So you can make it send out like a pulse, or you can make it send out like a constant signal.
that would just be a wire.
Well, yeah, it
I
would be
guess.
just a wire.
You could-
but
you
what
could
I
make
mean
it
is, like, so you
weird.
could get it from sending out nothing to sending out different space pulses to then sending out like a wire.
There are, and I can never remember the names, but there are kind of, I think, 3 different configurations that are classic for the 555 timer. Which is
astable, monostable, and bistable.
Exactly, and effectively each of those does something slightly different. I can never remember which name maps onto which thing. Luckily, we have Wikipedia right in front of us.
I know astable does pulses.
Yep, so that's like your classic square wave. Bonk, 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 bonk.
We could draw one of those because we didn't get the oscilloscope connected up. So I have paper and pens.
Tanya is our human oscilloscope.
And I am now a human oscilloscope. So when Sandy's connecting bits up, we'll talk that through when we get to that. Where do we get to? So astable is
square wave.
Obviously, it's much neater than this because it's an actual piece of equipment and not Tanya with a crayon. But so that's an astable.
That is an astable.
Hey, I'm learning. Okay, so what does monostable do then? Just a straight line?
Monostable is like a trigger that you can kind of extend the period of. So if you give it a very short burst signal, so draw a little burst, and then go back to
and then
normal,
it goes.
You can set it up so its output, so that's the input, its output will extend that input basically.
Sorry,
It's fine.
I just drawn on John.
So here you'd start again at the same point. Go along. No, that's the input.
No, you said that was the output.
No, that's the input.
That's the input.
No, the signal is the input.
Oh.
So then you'd have your output would be basically the same, but it would extend the length of the.
That's what I was writing. Output extends the length of this, and then I've just crossed it out now.
You're absolutely right there. So you could use this in a situation where, for example, you want to trigger something, but your input to the trigger needs to be a minimum length, which is quite common. You look in a data sheet and it might say that your interrupt line needs to be high for 100 nanoseconds, whatever it happens to be.
Okay, that does say output. It's just got decorations on now.
That's it.
Extends the length of that bit. So that whole scribbly bit there is the input, yeah?
Yeah. So the output you draw immediately under it, a bit like, actually you can see it on this Wikipedia page, you can see that you've got this little pulse input, and then effectively you tune the external circuit to determine how fast the capacitor recharges, and the longer that takes, the longer your output
so basically this bit says let the stuff out the capacitor.
It kind of resets the capacitor effectively, I would say.
Okay.
Well, it empties it, whatever you want to call it.
If you can't explain it to a Tanya, then
removes all of its chooch.
Discharges.
Discharges. Tips it out.
And then the capacitor charging circuit will depend on your external circuitry, the resistors and capacitors you've chosen, and the output of the 555 will be a continuous kind of signal.
So if you use
that period of time.
different resistors, it loads up the capacitors differently.
Yeah, and normally if it was a larger resistor, it would take longer for the capacitor to charge because less current will flow, and if it's a larger capacitor, it will take longer to charge because it's
big.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So and as you can see on the Wikipedias, you can see there's kind of equations for each of these, so you can work out exactly how long that period will be by plugging your values into the equation and doing.
So you can actually calculate exactly how long it'll be.
Yes, though capacitors tend to be quite weak tolerance-wise, like plus or minus 20%.
We don't want to destroy anything though.
We're not going to destroy what we're not going to destroy.
We're not going to destroy anything. Should we have a look at how Sandy's getting on with the soldering?
We'd have a quick Sandy cam. This is like
Sandy
spring
cam,
watch.
And back to the badger set.
He's out of camera shot again.
Yeah. He appears to have the 556 on there and the speaker,
and the speaker
so far.
Yeah.
Okay,
tidy work.
That's very neat, isn't it?
Did the silk have a little notch for the chip for the orientation?
I'm not sure. I just looked at the postcard, to be honest.
Oh right. Okay,
well that's handy. So the postcard is actually going to help you visually do this.
Yeah.
So there are some bits, if you not soldered before, some bits it matters which way around you get them, and some bits it does not matter.
I mean, it's got the pin numbers and
the notch is number 1.
Yeah, number 1 is where the notch is. Kind of top left pin is number 1, isn't it, usually?
So on that drawing you've got there.
So I think what we'll do next.
I do want to reach across, but I don't want to injure my finger, so I don't want to put it anywhere near the soldering iron. Look at the top of Sandy's head that's in the way. We'll let Sandy go back to concentrate and go back to our graphs, I think.
Let's do it.
So, this chip is going to generate a signal, and that signal is going to get sent to the speaker. on the
Yeah,
board.
we're in this particular case, it's being used in the astable mode, or at least one of them is. I'd have to check.
The first one's astable and it's triggering a monostable, is what I wrote down.
Okay, right. So presumably the
Guess
astable
who
is creating the pulses, and
researched?
the monostable is so the astable will be determining the frequency, and
Yeah.
the monostable will be determining effectively the duty cycle, I guess. I should have read up on this before we started. Because if you think about it,
so
the first
one,
one sets
one
the
will be
speed.
the frequency, and the other will be like the width of the pulse, won't it?
Yeah.
For that one that you said was the thing, the width of that thing. Okay, so
But we'll find out.
oh well, hopefully, yeah.
Do you know why they reckon the 555 timer is called the 555 timer? Because the internal schematic of the chip. So basically, any chip is effectively just a circuit. Like you can draw a schematic of the chip itself, or especially these kind of analog chips.
Yeah.
There's actually a row of 3 resistors inside the chip that are 5K, 5K, 5K. I don't think anyone's proven that was definitely the reason, but it seems like a really likely reason.
I'm going to Google later.
You see, I read that it was actually just that all of their circuits were kind of had like, you know, production numbers.
Yeah.
And then this one was like number 5.
It just happened to come up to 554. It was the next one. There you go. Maybe that was it. It might be apocryphal, but you know.
I think there's another one where if you put 4 555s together, I think it's a 558 or something
Probably.
similar
Seems
like
likely,
that.
like a quad 5.
I came across it in my readings, but it obviously didn't sink in quite as well as the other things. So,
I realised that I forgot to bring snips to snip the
emergency snips, if anybody is watching this in the building,
Paul.
bring us emergency snips, please, Paul. Okay, so we have the chip, which looks beautiful.
Well,
we have the chip, and the chip is sending a signal. What? Has it gone squiffy?
Yeah, it's fine. I can.
That's all right. I'll distract them with my
You can
drawings.
force it back into
I've sorted
It's
it, yeah.
fine.
And the chip is sending a signal out to the speaker, which now looks like a sunshine because I'm rubbish at drawing and now I've just drawn a musical note upside down. Never mind. That's the thought there anyway.
Sorry, I've lost the capacitor.
It's probably down the gap. Anyway, so, look, magically, snips have appeared. Thank you.
Thank you.
3 pairs, 1 each.
That's weird.
Okay, so the chip is going to send a signal, and that signal depends on the resistors. Yeah?
Yes, on the
A
external
signal
circuit.
depends
effectively. So
on the
capacitor
resistors
and
that are
resistors.
connected up to the chip, and then so that signal will then get to the speaker and make a sound.
Effectively so.
Ah, see? So simple. It's easy. Okay, so if we got 2 resistors that are connected somewhere between this and it reaching the speaker.
Because
Those are the twisty bits on the thing.
the potentiometers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're effectively tunable resistors. So they are providing a way to control the output signal. So your pulses, your pulse generator, the first one, the astable,
Yeah.
using I think one of the tunable resistors that sets your frequency, so you can speed it up or slow it down.
Okay. And the other one is the pulse length.
We believe so. So there's actually 3 on there. I'm just trying to find the original circuit.
I
for
think
that
the other
and
one
see what-
is the volume. So it'll just do the
possibly,
amplitude.
Yeah, I was just trying. Wait,
So the other
you've got
one.
the circuit diagram here.
You've got a
looking for
circuit
it.
diagram too. I've got an electrician either side of me.
Yeah, this one will just be the volume. So this 5K trim pot
Yeah.
is basically the audio output is going through it. So the
Okay,
higher
so
that value, the
so
quieter
this signal
it'll
will
be.
come through another one, which I can't draw when I'm.
I just want to check with Sandy that you know that those those potentiometers aren't all the same value. Yeah,
I know that.
good. Just checking.
He's aware. So
That's good news.
so the first 2 affect the signal. The other one just before the speaker affects how strongly
volume.
that signal goes in.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
it's current limiter, right? And the speaker is driven by power, which is voltage times current. So the less current you get into it, the quieter it's going to be.
The quieter
And it
it's
won't
gonna
drive
be.
it as hard. There will be fewer watts.
What?
What?
Right. So that's. I think we've summarised that in beautiful cartoons. What? It makes sense. It does make sense. Poor Sandy is still soldering away. There are many...
I don't know what's taking him so long, to be honest, Tanya.
You know what? It's really hard to solder it with all these sticky out bits. Kind of like trying to balance them all. And,
it does make it tricky.
Right.
You basically need to be a soldering octopus.
So while
Tanya,
Sandy screams, yeah.
Could you hold this for me? Just like steady it.
Can you just hold this thing right next to the really hot thing?
Just
Okay,
hold it
yeah, I
like,
can.
like that.
Is that why the way I call it
Yeah.
third arms or whatever it is?
Third hand, yeah.
Third
They are
hands.
super useful.
I'm third and fourth hand.
What Sandy should have brought with him is one of these,
You should have bought one of these.
which is super handy because you can just clip the board in with the crop clips. You can even
Yeah.
hold the component up to the bottom of the board and hold it nice
Thank
and
you.
solid, and then do your soldering.
Well, good, well, good. So,
Okay.
you know we've got the potentiometers, which are basically, we can change the resistance depending on when we turn it round or don't turn it round.
Yes.
Okay. So, could we replace it with something else that is like changing resistance? Instead of putting a potentiometer in it, could we put like
you
a
can
light
do things
dependent
like-
resistor or something in?
Yeah, in theory, yes, but the range matters. And the,
Can I just get that postcard, please?
sorry.
It's all right.
So on this one, the frequency selecting, this pot on the top left-hand corner, the frequency select one,
Yeah.
is 1 megohm in that.
So you'd
particular
need something
circuit.
that worked in the same range.
If you wanted it to behave the same way, you'd need something that's roughly the same range. Yeah.
Okay.
This is weird because the postcard shows three
Barrel capacity.
electrolytic capacitors, but in the kit you get, or in the kit that I've got, there were 2 electrolytics and 1 ceramic.
Yeah.
So I presume that one's the ceramic one. I don't know.
Well, if the other values matched up, that one.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
the-
this will be ceramic because it's 0.1 UF. It's tiny, that one.
That's teeny tiny.
Yeah, I mean you could
Yeah.
buy it in that format, but
Is
there's
it
no reason.
0.1 or 0.01?
It's
0.01.
0.01 UF. Sorry.
Tiny,
So it's a
tiny.
teeny capacitor.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the capacitors are 10 times smaller each time around the circuit.
We're almost there.
What would happen if you change them?
Well, if you change the 0.01 UF and you doubled it, then
Yeah.
effectively you'd halve the speed. But
Okay.
but there are limits, obviously, like the amount of load that the capacitor puts on the chip, and you can't do that indefinitely. But yeah, within reasonable ranges, you could double
could.
that and halve the speed, or do other things.
Okay. So this is the principle really behind circuit bending, isn't it? Is that you take a circuit and you mess around with the resistors, and then you get different sounds out of sound circuits by changing the resistance in the same way that we're going to change the resistance with the potentiometers.
Yeah, I mean, circuit bending is just about kind of fiddling with an existing.
I'm just going to
layout.
shade my eyes since I'm
Yeah.
the only one not wearing glasses here. In other news, we've got another kit on the shop, soldering kit,
That's a fun
which
one.
I've left the back off so you can see.
Right, just one
Are you finished
thing
clipping?
left. Yeah, I've just got
Okay,
one.
he's
thing
finished
left.
clipping. So while he's doing his last one thing, if you could bring up the page for this one, really awesome. I'll just hoik this out a bit, so.
Do you want it full screen or?
No, just little screen. Can we sideways them? Oh, okay. So this is the Time Square watch. So I've just popped it out of its doodad. It comes with a strap, but you don't have to use the strap. And it's that way up, I think. I don't know how well it'll work in this.
It's not
way.
bad, actually.
Yeah, it's not bad. It seems to work much better in the shade.
Yeah, especially filming.
Yeah, well, we've got massive bright light shining right at us, which isn't great. There we go.
It's cool. The thing that always impressed me about this is that, doing the scrolling watch thing on a 8x8 matrix is not particularly difficult, but the fact they anti-alias the text and the colour, it makes it look really smooth and,
Yeah,
and very, very
I like
slick.
that's the binary clock as well. And Phil, who designed it, is obsessed with werewolves and quite often dresses up as one. I am an honorary member of the Werewolf Club because I wore a checkered shirt to make a fair. So I might need this occasionally. It's moon cycles, which I think is quite pretty. And then finally, there's a battery indicator.
I'm watching the one in the laptop
You're watching
screen,
that one instead?
trying to work out why it's not changing. You're like saying, I'm looking at moon cycles. Oh,
You're
that's
looking
still
at
a
this
clock.
one.
I'm looking at the wrong one. Go on then, do it again.
But
moon
yeah.
cycles.
Well, no, I'm on battery indicator now. You've got to keep with the times.
Fine.
See what I did there. But anyway, yeah, I built it last night while not watching the football, and it took me basically the normal time bit of the football match to build it, but I am quite picky about my soldering, and so I don't know if we can switch to Sandy Cam and I can sneak in a little bit of Tanya soldering. Oh yeah.
It is a very cool project.
It is a really cool project.
I really like that one.
It's very straightforward and really well described.
Show the band. I don't know.
well.
I have no idea where these bands come from, but they must be some sort of stock item.
Yeah, I can't get it in here without getting Sandy to set fire to it. So
I think they said they were recycled or like repurposed or something.
yeah, I think they are. What else I found was cool is on Thingiverse. If you go back to the big one. Nope, that's not the big one. That's the big one. On Thingiverse, there is a laser cutting and a 3D printing pattern to make overlays for it.
Oh, right, okay.
So I just used the basic sizing one to make a diffuser for it, and so that comes out
Oh, that looks nice.
much kind of easier
And that still
to see.
clips in
So that's
under
it
the
without.
frame, does it?
No, you do
Oh,
have
it
to
needs
do
to
a
be
little bit of a tacking on the corner and then a taping, but a diffuser, so that's quite cool. If you put a different colour diffuser on, you get kind of a pinky. I quite like that. That's how Royale. But also, there's like a, I forgot what it's called, word clock.
Sandy,
Yeah.
do you turn something off? Oh, it's all right. It's come back.
No.
No, it was probably you.
No,
So
I didn't
it
touch
was on
nothing.
that one. Okay, fine.
It was weird.
But yeah, unfortunately, I haven't managed to obtain the right cable I need. But the code's on GitHub, and you can have it showing cool things. Can you go down on the camera?
Oh, that's what you
Yes,
wanted it for.
that's what I want the cable
see.
for. So then
You
that
make a word clock for your
that
wrist.
goes as an overlay, and it becomes a word clock for your wrist, or a tiny, tiny one for your house.
This
Who
is like
knows? Oops.
ultra hipster chic.
So
isn't it?
yeah, sorry, I've just made a right mess of that, but I need to do it and escape out the way. Thanks, Sandy.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. But yeah, lining it up is kind of tricky, but once you've done it, it's all right. It's
Very, very cool.
very cool, and it slots into this thing. And I think we've only got red ones at the moment.
At the moment, we have it does come in other colours, which we
does.
might stock if it's popular enough. But it seems to have been pretty popular so far. It's a very, very cool kit. How difficult to solder together? Quite straightforward.
If I can do it, probably most people can. It was very straightforward. It's the guidance on the Adafruit website is really, really clear and easy to follow.
And does it's Atmega 328P, isn't it? The chip. And did that come pre-programmed?
It's pre-programmed,
Oh,
yeah. So it's
awesome.
pre-programmed with all those watch faces, but there's loads of open source different watch faces that you can put onto it and all sorts of things, because it has a very handy little, right at the very tippy top of it. Sorry, I'm going to steal Sandy Cam again. Just there at the top are where you can connect an FTDI cable.
Yep. Reprogram it yourself.
And reprogram it yourself.
So you could turn it into a scrolling badge, or you could make like an analog clock face instead, or program a game onto it, or you've got a couple of buttons there as well on the side.
Yeah, there's a couple of buttons. So those are used to control setting the time and changing through the watch faces
My point
at the
was
moment.
they could be anything.
But they could be. That's what I said at the moment.
The world is your oyster. So a very cool product. That's in the store now for £27.
Yeah, it's been out for years.
Yeah, we've
only just got it, and I
don't
can't understand why, because it was really good and fun to make.
It is super awesome. Should we get an update from Sandycam?
Yeah, let's go for Sandy Cam.
How are we doing, Sandycam?
I think I may have done something wrong.
What do you think you've done,
Dun, dun,
Sandy?
dun, dun, dun.
Well,
We could play Spot the Difference.
when I put the battery in, it got very hot.
So quick look.
So do you want to have a look at that, John?
Meanwhile,
Yeah, I put the
It
battery
was-
in and I felt it getting very warm, so I rapidly took the battery back out again. I can't.
What's the cell?
The what?
Coin cell, yeah.
Yeah, just be careful.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, while John has a look at that, or if you go to edu.pimoroni.com, it is merely an ASCII picture of a unicorn and a link to sign up to our mailing list. If you want to sign up, we send out free worksheets. Yay! They're all PDFs and they're all one size, one sheet of A4, so easy to print out and laminate if you like laminating like I do. The ones that went out last time were the ones to go with the scroll bit, and the ones that went out this afternoon were for the Enviro bit. So you should be able to have a look through them. I haven't laminated them yet.
So the scroll bit ones have all been added to the product page. So if you go to the product page, scroll down to the bottom, there's links to all of these. So there's one about setting the software up, there's one about a tilty ghost thing, there's one about scrolling text,
So,
and the other one is about something else.
scrolling text, fortune teller.
Fortune teller, yeah.
So fortune teller. So we're trying to get like a few starter projects just to get you going, so you can pick them up. And in theory, you don't need any other knowledge other than what's on the cards. So it should get people started with it. If you have any ideas for projects that you want us to do, then let us know, and we should be able to invoke that. No. Realise your dreams of worksheets, or something like that. Anyway, so that's another thing to have a look at. Even if you're not an educator, you can still sign up if you're just interested. That's also fine. And like Sandy said, he'll be adding them all to the product pages. And eventually, that ASCII unicorn will change into a beautiful website full of loads of free resources.
Ta-da.
I was hoping that one of you would just jump in with something else.
We have.
What do you need?
Do you want to look at
Ooh,
that one, Sandy?
Yeah, we're quite excited about this one. Do you want to get the product? Do you want to get the product page up, John?
Yeah, I can do that.
I'll plug this in.
Sorry, I was just. It's like wrestling octopuses is octopi.
Where's that meant to?
I didn't pull anything out, I promise.
Right. Okay.
Oh,
Ooh.
did you just put that? Oh,
Oh, it's working.
yeah.
Yay. Did I get it right then, John?
I think you may have just put the battery in back to front. I'm not sure, but I haven't done anything.
Yeah, it's possible.
Skills.
We'll see. Yeah, so this is.
Go back to
We
that.
used to do an 8-inch screen kit that was very popular. I'll put the battery in the right way around
Okay.
just before Sandy touches it again. And obviously, this is super useful if you want to build a decent sized screen into a project because it's the bare panel. If you put it side on, Sandy, I think it's like 3mm thick.
Yep.
And we used to sell this quite a while ago, an 800 by 600 panel. It was okay. It was pretty useful. This is a new one. It's 1024 by 768. It's an IPS panel, so super high quality image. And we've actually developed our own custom driver board for it.
That's the exciting bit about it.
That is the most exciting
Obviously,
bit.
it's still got the screen protector on, so
Can we
the
go to
the
the,
quality is like a
We'll
lot better.
go big close up.
Yeah.
Oh,
So at the moment, we've got the protective
noisy
sheet
noise.
over the screen, which you can take off when you receive it. There you go. I'm just booting a nice little Raspberry Pi desktop at the moment.
So you can see the viewing angles. The camera's having trouble, but
Yeah, it's the reflections and stuff.
yeah, it's got really kind of wide viewing angles.
What you don't get is that colour shifting, that kind of
Yeah.
weird, all the colours morphing into different colours. And And then this is the driver board. And basically the reason we've done our own driver board is we got sick of the standard ones and how limited they were. So we've added a pin header here for the keypad control. So you can actually automate that. You can hook it up to an Arduino or your Pi or whatever and use that to change menu settings on the screen. And we've also broken out the I2S audio from the what we call the crab chip, the Realtek HDMI LVDS bridge chip.
That's because it's got a little crab symbol on it, isn't it?
That's their logo, it's the little crab.
I misheard that.
Okay, no,
Sorry.
it's a good chip.
It's a good chip.
It's
It's a
the
good
crab
chip.
chip.
It has a crab on it.
So yeah, and up in the top right corner you can see there's the audio breakout. So it's like your classic I2S, left clock, master clock, and the data line, and just some useful voltages there as well on the ground pin. So you can easily take this and like hook it up to an Adafruit I2S audio breakout or something like that if you want to do a really nice little tight integrated audio video solution. And yeah, it's just super tidy. And in fact, there's a little keypad for the PCB as well, which I have totally failed to bring with me.
Yeah, we don't have one of them.
I've got it on the
Yeah.
got it on the surface.
In the
as
shop
well,
page.
quite well.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is everything you get in the kit. You get the panel itself, you get our driver board, you get the FPC flex cable, and you get the keypad for controlling the inputs.
Cool. Sorry, I've been trying to hide this this tone
This
generator
ticking thing.
because it's making noise. Oh yeah, I see the crab now. Yeah,
Yeah, crab chip.
crab.
So sorry, yeah, there's the kit.
Seafood not included.
No. So check it out if you want a screen to integrate into your project. I think these will be available later today, Sandy.
Yep.
Yeah, we're pretty sure.
Yeah.
So we'll have those later today.
Cool. It makes noise. It lives.
Oh yeah, right up to the microphone.
Yeah, that's not going to annoy anyone.
So let's tweak those resistors. What do we got?
So this seems to be the kind of the note, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's the frequency effectively.
Yeah.
Frequency.
This will be the pulse width. Is that correct?
I guess so.
Like the timing. You can hear it's kind of it's less frequent, and then it's stepping up actually.
Yeah,
I guess that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Step tone generator.
That would make a lot of sense.
So the other one must be the volume one.
The one at the bottom, I think, is the volume.
Yeah, it's volume. Yeah.
So it's basically just syncing, just stealing all the.
Can we look at the diagram close up? Or
Yeah,
look at the whole thing close up while you're fiddling with it. Sorry. Put it down on the table, Sandy.
I can't. I'll have to zoom in if you do that.
You can do. So this one was the volume. Wrong way around.
Yep.
Just one quick note. Someone was asked in chat if we could have a dimensional drawing for the driver board. I'm just going to bring this back for a second before we move on.
Okay.
Because I totally forgot to mention that this driver board is exactly the same footprint as the hat holes on the Raspberry Pi. The whole point is that you can undermount this beneath your Pi with standoffs and make a really kind of tidy package. So it basically mounts onto the Pi mounting holes, which is very straightforward.
So we'll add a link to the Raspberry Pi official hat specification.
Yes.
To the product page. We'll add that. And that should give you all the correct dimensions and where the mounting holes are and how far apart they are and the diameters. And,
Okay.
Yep, that's right.
So can I prod at this one now?
But we do have all the dimensions on the product page as well. We always try to do that for all of our boards, put the dimensions and the thickness and things like that. So, yeah.
Cool. Sorry.
Godzilla is saying, please add audio output. It already has audio output. It doesn't have to be through a Pi. The chip takes the HDMI audio and outputs it via I2S through that header. So whatever input you give it, that's HDMI with audio, you can use the audio breakout on it.
Cool.
Okay, let's look at this.
I was just having a quick look because this one's the volume one, and it says R4 next to it there. And on the diagram, you can see that's the one that leads into the speaker. So that's the one that's letting it have more or less oomph. And that's why it's quieter, yeah?
Yeah, effectively
cool.
R4 is acting as a current limiting resistor. So as you turn it, the value of that resistor increases and decreases.
I think I've killed it.
To the point where it's almost a dead short at the extremes.
It's completely silent now. Don't know what I've
Your
done
battery?
to
Or
it. I may have knocked the battery out.
Or are the other ones turned so it's so slow it's not making any
Oh,
noise?
that could also be true. I'm quite far away from it now.
That was some noise, wasn't it?
No, that was Sandy rocking it on the table. We may have. I may have misadvertently. That's not even a word. I may have inadvertently loosened one of your connections there, Sandy. Sorry.
What did you do
alright.
to
I
it?
don't know what I did to it. Something bad. I was just trying to find R3 on the circuit diagram. Oh, it's over there. So that one is that one. And then that one is that one.
Yep.
So they're controlling, so something comes out and it's controlling what goes back in. Is that right?
Right, the first one,
Or is it the other way
R1, is controlling the A-stable output. So effectively, I believe this is, because it's a dual 555 package, you've got the first 555 timer generating the A-stable wave, which is controlled by R1, the frequency of it. And then the output of that A-stable circuit is fed into the monostable section, which is the other 555 timer, and that's determining the pulse width.
And that's
so the two are basically,
one.
it's almost like you're generating one signal and feeding it into another circuit that modifies that signal and comes out the other side.
Okay. Oh, sorry, we have table again.
Oh, Oh, well, that's...
Would you like to go back to something else while Sandy retrieves the battery from under the table?
Has it gone, Sandy?
I think
Yeah, the battery may be stuck down the...
that may be the natural
Between the
end to
tables, so
this,
yeah.
mightn't it?
It might have to be the natural end to that, which is a shame. It's a cool kit.
Use
We've made
the
a bit of
paintbrush.
we've made a bit of a mess of it, but there you go.
To be fair, we were rushing him a bit. We were like, "Are you done yet? Are you done yet?" So
This, the gaps between this table's actually made out of is it old scaffolding boards or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
But it's got quite big gaps between it, and it's a bit like down the back of your sofa.
there's fluff down there.
There's an array of like weird and wonderful stuff down there, like
There's the fake snow from Christmas.
like hammer headers and
Hammerheaders. There's the beads that
LEDs
that I was
and-
making rude necklaces out of.
Yeah.
There's even I don't know what that is. It looks like a tiny little flower pot. It's probably not.
Yeah, it's come out, but it's gone over there now. Anyway, so so they're they're nice.
They're super cute circuits. I'm not quite sure what we've done there. We'll figure that one out.
Well,
And it
maybe we'll
can-
fix it and bring it back next week.
Maybe we'll have it on the set next week. We'll do one of the other ones. We'll put it on the set, Sandy. There's 3 different circuits available. One is a voltage indicator, so this is almost like building a really crude multimeter, effectively, and you can see the ladder of resistors down one side, which lets you kind of detect how big your voltage is that's connected up to it. And then I think the potentiometer at the top is a kind of a tuning thing. And there's also an LED flasher, which is, again, it's a bit like one of these charge-discharge oscillator style circuits that just alternates between 2 LEDs.
Okay.
So they make kind of cool art pieces. Just have on your desk. Executive toy. It's electronics hobbyist executive toy range.
Yeah, it's a good way of explaining electronics to people like me as well.
Yeah, and the other thing that's quite nice, because it's all 3-hole components, and these are kind of like classic circuits. Once you built them, they're a great thing to experiment with an oscilloscope on, or your multimeter, and kind of actually understand and see what's going on in the circuit.
There's also a little explanation of what it's doing on the back.
Oh, we should have read that first.
We should have read that really. I've just
That would have been
noticed
awesome.
it.
But yes, that's kind of cool. And then we've got one other thing to look at today, which Sandy's kind of feverishly poking at. What are you doing, Sandy?
It's our 5th microbit add-on board.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, that's
It is
disappeared.
automation bit.
Can we get it under the camera?
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
So this is effectively the same as our automation FAT or HAT, very similar spec.
Yeah.
And it's designed specifically for the microbit. So it's 24 volts tolerant input. You've got, I think, how many ADC channels is it, Sandy? Is it 2 on this
3.
one? 3 ADC channels. Yep. You've got single relay, you've got the syncing outputs, and you've got 3 24 volt tolerant inputs. So super useful for...
And the relay, did you mention?
I mentioned the relay, yeah.
You
Super
did.
useful for kind of automation projects. Ideal for, I mean, you could drive something like a tower light with it, you could hook it up to your boiler system, do alarms.
Yeah.
Basically anywhere where you want to interface with up to 24 volt logic.
And if you're not entirely sure what the automation hat does, there's a breakdown of it on our blog.
Sorry, wrong window.
Wrong window. Well done. But yeah, that's the product page. That's quite useful for people to know
That
as
is
well.
good to know.
To be fair. Further down. There it is. So yeah, there's a breakdown of what the automation hat does, down to even like how a relay works on our blog. So have a look at that if you want to find out what it does, with my beautiful illustrations.
Oh yeah, pumps. So it's self-watering. That's
Yeah.
kind of an awesome thing. And the nice thing about the microbit is it's relatively low power, so it'll last for much longer on the battery than a Pi would.
Yep.
And it's got built-in Bluetooth, which means that you could use your phone to control it. You could have it talking to other Bluetooth devices. So
You can have it
it's a kind
talking
of
to another
wireless
microbit.
setup. Could be very, very cool.
Yep.
In fact, we should try and build that. We should try and build the automatic plant waterer with just the microbit and automation bit.
Okay, and then we'll make an education card out of it and we'll get it out into the wild.
There you go.
There we go. Promise is made.
You can actually use another microbit with the radio function, which is not Bluetooth. It's just
It's using the proprietary NRF burst.
that's
What it's something burst, isn't it? I can't remember what it's called, but yeah.
Essentially, it allows microbits to talk to each other on various different channels and group. Well, I think they're called groups in
And
I think there's
it's much
100.
better range as well than Bluetooth.
Yeah.
So there you could have like a microbit on your desk that's outputting stuff from your microbit that's doing those soil readings or whatever, or sends you alerts or warns.
You can also reduce the intensity that it sends the signal at as well to conserve battery. So if you know your distance, you can work it out that way.
Very cool. And automation bit is just 12 quid. Can't say fairer than that. So nice set of features. Lots of interesting things you can do with that. Lovely.
Cool.
I think that's us for this week.
I think it probably is.
So let's try and actually get this right.
So I think next week we've got a very exciting new product. We said this last week.
Oh yeah, and then
yeah.
it's a week late. But there you go.
It'll definitely be next week.
But you're used to Bilge Tank things being
Mostly late. Yeah.
delayed for anticipation and
Indeed.
building something.
And we're coming up to our birthday soon as well.
Hey.
3 weeks until Pomerania is 6. So look out for more to do with that as well. And in the meantime, don't forget to like
And
Comment.
and subscribe.
and we'll see you next week.
Bye.